Okay, we just started our podcast, and all I did was I pushed record on that device. And what we're using is Fuse, which is a free program you can download on any Android device or iOS device, like iPhone, iPod Touch. And in Learning Technologies, we have these materials available for you to be able to use in your classroom. Communications uses it for doing things like they want their students to be able to give speeches, practice speeches, and we set it up for them so that they come and borrow some of our equipment. I think they're buying their own, but for the testing that we did, they borrowed ours, and we set them up so that what would happen is that a student would give a speech, someone would hit record, the student would give their speech. When they were done, we would put in the name of the student's, the speaker's email address, and hit done. And what would happen is that Fuse would send that video to the video server, which would do all of its back-end processing stuff, and then would send an email to the student and to the instructor. So both the student and the instructor could view their videos online, and everything was very automated. Before the system came along, it was really quite cumbersome because they'd have to use VHS tape and swap things around. It was really awkward, but this has made things really easy. One of the other benefits to this is that you don't necessarily have to be in a wireless network immediately. Like you could be out in the field doing something, or be at home shooting video of you saying hello to your students or whatever, and once you submit the video, it will wait in a queue until you get into a wireless area, and then we'll start submitting the video. Okay. So it's kind of nice that way. You can have it, just sitting in your pocket, and as you walk onto campus, it says, "Oh, hey, here's a wireless network I'm allowed to use," and it'll start uploading those videos for you. And there's a queue in the program that will show you what videos have been uploaded and what's still left to be sent. And then, depending on the workflow, it can be sent to YouTube, it can be sent to our online video tool called Kaltura. So there's a large number of things that you can do with it, but it's really easy to get started. So anyway, we'll talk about Fuse as we go closer to the end. So let's go to my next slide. And I call this 7 Nifty Technologies. And that's the name of this presentation, but I did want to get Fuse out of the way to sort of get it going and started and show you how I started the thing, push the big button. So there are actually, I think there are 8. I should update this to 8 Nifty Technologies. But right now I have, there are 8. I'm Brian Lovell from Learning Technologies for the webcast. And we're located in the basement of Polk Library, but we're actually quite a bigger group than that. We also do things like deliver projectors and things like that to your classroom. If you don't have something there, we can deliver them for you. The next thing that I wanted to talk about were QR codes and what they are. QR codes are these things that you see, and you can see it on the back of this, and you can see it up here. They hold information. The old version of this would be the bars. I can't think of the barcodes. And these hold a lot more information than what the barcodes do. And you'll notice that you can store different kinds of information in these QR codes. So you can store up to like 1,900 characters. So you could do things like create a QR code yourself for your students if you wanted to give them a message, or do something like, sort of like a game or something like that, where the students maybe would have to find information based off of QR codes. But you can also use these in stores. If you're going through stores, you notice that they have these barcodes now that are sitting on a device. You can look up information about that device, provided, of course, they provide the QR codes. These were initially created for the automobile industry, where they had to have a large amount of information about a product, a thing. And so they could scan it and get that information off. But they're really quite ingenious in that they allow you to do things like create decorative QR codes. These things are also very resistant. If I were to take one of these and tear it almost in half, you would still be able to read the information on the QR code. So they're pretty resilient. In order to read the QR codes, there are a number of applications. One of those is called Red Laser that you can install on your mobile device.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, got it.
That you can install on your mobile device, and there are Android board versions of this and iOS versions of it. And there are other QR code readers as well. This just happens to be the one that I have on my phone, which I, of course, didn't bring with me. But you can use these in order to scan these QR codes, and it would then give you information like the URL or the message that you're trying to give to somebody. Kawa. This is a website that you can go and you can create your own QR codes.
Do you want me to sit closer so you don't have to walk so far?
Excuse me?
Do you want me to sit closer so you don't have to walk so far?
Wherever you're comfortable. And I'm going to show you that tool. They do have a paid service too, but for oops, sorry, I'm not sure what that website is. KAWA.com. KAY, sorry, KAYWA. Guess I could have just used my bookmark. Let's see. If I go to QR code generators, here we go. QRCodeKawa.com. You'll notice that there's a dynamic and a static. For what we want to do is we're going to do static right now. Dynamic will allow you to create your own account, and then you can store these things, and they're always updated and stuff like that. But for what we're wanting to do, this will be just fine. You'll notice that I can choose text, so if I wanted to say something to my students, first you want to spell it correctly. If I hit generate, it will generate that QR code for me. Now the nice thing about this is that this is this is an image right now. So I could take this image, I could drag it right onto my desktop or into D2L or any other simple editor, and that QR code would be on that website or would be in that application. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to do. URLs, easy to do. Oops. They really want you to sign up for a code, so I'm going to make sure that it's static, generate, or set up an account. So now I have that image that I can drag off onto my desktop, and it's a QR code. The only thing you want to keep in mind about doing this, because I've done a lot of QR codes, is that it's really easy to forget what this is actually for. So whatever you do, make a folder called Learning Technologies or name it really clearly, because just by looking at it, you're not going to know what this actually is. Something that's kind of interesting, and you'll notice how dense that this is, how much stuff there is here. If we get into in an area like text, and I have a lot of text, notice how the density changes as more information gets in there. But again, you can do things like if you wanted to, you could put a symbol here or something in the middle. You'd have to test it to make sure that you don't overwrite something that's really important. But you can make these things more decorative than out of the box. Okay. Does that make sense, clear?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I find these to be kind of useful, and they're kind of fun. You hand these things out, like some of these guys. They're kind of fun to give to students or to give to some sort of a presentation where you got a QR code in the back. People could just look it up right then and there on the phone. Okay, presentation. PTH pasteboard and a multi-clipboard. These are examples, really, more than anything else, of clipboard or pasteboard options that will allow you to copy and paste, and it will store your copy and paste multiple times. An example is if you're using Windows or a Mac.
Mac.
Mac. Good. then this will be awesome for you. I did the other one for Windows people, which is located on the right. This one here is specific to Macintoshes, to Macs. So there is a free version of this, so you can download it and use it for free. I paid for mine because I use it. I have it installed on every computer that I use. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to store copied information. And you can set it up a number of ways, but I've set mine up so if I put my mouse on the right, if I push it to the right side of the screen, I get this list of things that I have copied in the past. And it will store up to 42 of them. So if I'm on a website that has a lot of information, and I find something that I don't quite understand, I can copy it and continue reading my article without leaving the article. So there's something else like, okay, so maybe I'm interested in that. Copy it. And I can go down to, say, this and say, okay, well, I'm going to copy that address. Notice I haven't left the browser, so I don't
I
have
always
to
wanted to be
interrupt.
able to do that.
What's that?
I always wanted to be able to do that.
So that allows you to sort of store these things. And you notice that on the right-hand side, now my pasteboard has those things that I've copied, and I can easily go back to. So that's PTH pasteboard. And it has a number of options, and one of those options is that I can create custom pasteboards, and I believe you have to purchase it to do the custom pasteboard. But if you have a custom pasteboard and you're teaching something like, say, English, where you have an awful lot of definitions that you use, say like, when to use a period, when to use a comma or a semicolon. I can create these always saved. You notice that this one right here, after about the 41st one, for the 46th thing I copied won't be there anymore. Now it's configurable, but I have it at 46. In this case, these never go away. These are always there. So if you spent some time, say, doing your definitions for, say, a period, and I'm writing to a student or I'm making notes about what it is that they've written, and they're always making mistakes on punctuation marks like periods or semicolons, that sort of thing, I can go into their paper, and let's do so I can go into their paper and I can say, okay, well, look, you made a mistake on a punctuation mark. This is what you need to do. Oh, you also made a mistake with say, a run-on sentence. So there's some information about a run-on sentence. So you can really give the student lots of feedback that's customized to what it is that you would say to them, but you don't have to put an awful lot of time. Well, you have to put the time in once. Once you put the time in once, it's sort of like a macro that you use it over and over again and give the student lots of feedback without having to redo it over and over again. But I can easily add more by selecting my edit and new. I can give it a name and more information. And I can also create these out of, say, Microsoft Word or something that allow me to do my formatting, copy it, and bring it in that way too. So there's a fair number of ways that you can create these pasteboards. If I go to my pasteboard settings, preferences, I can go in and do things like I can create additional pasteboards, so I can have 15 or 20 of these things depending on what, maybe you divide it up by subject or by lesson plan or something to that effect. And do all kinds of things like filtering the things and doing hotkeys and syncing with their server, which I haven't done. And both of these, both the Windows version of this and the Mac version of this, they're pretty much the same. They're just a way for you to be able to organize that information you're going to be copying and pasting over and over again. I use this every single day. It's really useful to me. Are there any questions about that? Because
I like that though.
It's something that I think is very useful. And even for the $10, I use it so often I give them money for it. This is well worth the dime. Okay. So the next thing that we want to talk about is Pixlr. Have you used Pixlr before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, excellent. Pixlr is an online, free web editing tool. So if I go into pixlr.com, I'll give you one of these little guys here. It has QR code on the back, so you can scan it. Pixlr.com, when you open it up, there are 4 options, 3 of, I think probably 2 of which you'll consider using. This one is more like, what's the photo sharing site that everybody, Instagram, kind of like Instagram, where you open up the playful one. And you do, the disadvantage to this is that you do have to be connected to the net. So if you're going to go somewhere, you won't be able to use this. I believe that they just, there may be a new downloadable version of this, but I'm not sure. Okay, so the fun version of this, the easy version, there's a computer. So where's your image coming from? Do you want to take a picture now off of your webcam, or do you want to grab something off your computer? Well, I'll grab something off my computer. And now I have a picture that I can do things to. I can go in and choose, say, filters to apply to this image. So very sort of Instagram-y-like. And after I've done making my changes, or if I want to do something like put a border around it, you know, stuff you might do for maybe Facebook or something like that. Then I can choose save. It says, okay, where do you want to save it to? You could save, it does now allow you to save the file so that you can go and undo. Earlier versions of this didn't allow you to save the layering and stuff like that I'll show you in a little bit. But this allows you to save the full-blown package. For most of us, we'll just go right to our computer, we'll give it a name, and it will save as a JPEG on our computer. And it should ask me where I want to save it. Let's put it on my desktop. And it just saved us a JPEG. Okay? So we're going to leave this one, and we're going to go back to Pixlr. Whoops. Where's my quit? Where's my quit? Go back. That's not it. There we go. Go to Pixlr. This one, I like this one right here because it's pretty quick to use. I think it's easy to use. It's very icon based. You'll notice that I have a bunch of things that I can do up front, like I can choose a picture from a webcam. So if I want to take a picture now, I can. I can open up a URL, or I can browse to an existing picture right now. Or there's this nice collage option. If you choose the collage option, it will allow you to choose different layouts. So if I choose this, I got different layouts. So very much like taking your photos to, say, Walmart or somewhere like that, and they print out your photos on, I don't know, like 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. You cut them up yourself later. It's kind of like that. So I can add a picture to each of these sections. I can also drag and drop these. So I've got these. I can do things like I can change the roundness settings. So if you wanted to do some styling to this, if I wanted to change the layout on the fly, I can. So I can go down and say, all right, let's do this one. If you decided that that one shouldn't be there, I can add a different one in there. There we go. And so now I want to switch them, so I can switch which one's big and which one's small. Just a very simple way to get that sheet that I can cut up into wallet size. Or
is that your mom?
Yeah, that is it.
You should put her in the big one. Oh, no, you can't see her.
But I can take and I can edit it, so if I wanted to make it smaller, I could.
This is actually very cool.
So it's just a very easy way. And I'm not sure who's winning this game. A cat loves to watch the iPad. So anyway, it's just a very easy way to adjust and add pictures and put them on. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And let's go up to the other one, which is a little more advanced. We have a create new image from scratch, or we can open an image from a computer. This is a little more Photoshop-like. So you have access to layers, and it feels a little more like Photoshop. So I'm going to open up the picture. You'll notice that the picture isn't quite right. It's sideways, so I can do some adjustment to it. So I can say, okay, well, I want to image, rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise. Or if you do that, I hit clockwise, so we can do 180. There we go. Zoom out so we can see the whole picture. Okay. So some of the other options that I can do with this is I can also take and say, well, I want to crop it, so maybe I don't want to see everything. I want to see some things. Okay, so we'll say okay. So I made a crop, and I'm not terribly happy with it. So we do even have an undo button in here. So if I do Command Z, will undo the thing that I just did. Some of my adjustments that I can do is I can do like brightness and contrasting. So I can drop my brightness down, maybe up my contrast a little bit to make it look a little bit more, arty. But there's also some areas of the photo that aren't clear, that are kind of, there's a smudge on the glass or something. So in that case, I can take a cloning tool and adjusting its size so we can see what happens. So we can see what happens. I'll choose an area that I want to clone. Oops. And now when I click and hold and drag, I basically copy from one area to another. To make it clear what I'm doing is I can do that. So you see where that little target symbol is? Whatever is over top of that is what I'm cloning. So that's one way to do things like remove blemishes, that sort of thing that you want to do. You want to be careful removing blemishes, though, because you can easily become a very plastic person. Okay? Tons of adjustments that you can do in here. You also have the ability to do things like adding new layers, like you can in Photoshop. And the ability for using layers is that I can take a layer and we'll do the same thing here. I'll sample from that part of the image. Let's clone some stuff here real quick. I can take and I can move things that are on that layer independently from the layers that are behind it. In this case, the background. Okay. When I'm happy with the image, if I want to save it, it gives me a whole bunch more options. One of those is I can choose what type of format that I want to save this image out as. So if you're doing something for a textbook, they're probably going to ask you for a high-resolution TIFF image. So you can save this thing out as a TIFF or as a JPEG. You can also do things like save out to your Facebook account. I usually tell people to be slightly cautious of this because there are security issues involved, where if you save this thing out on Facebook, it's possible they could have your Facebook password and it could get stolen and all of that. So as far as the security end of it, I probably wouldn't recommend this, but if it doesn't bother you, yeah, that's fine too. You can go ahead and this would post right to your Facebook wall. Okay. Same thing with Flickr and Picasa. You publish these things right to Flickr or Picasa. Okay. Let's see. I think that's really about it that I wanted to talk about for Picasa. Any questions on it?
No. That's kind of cool though.
Yeah. The other thing about, and I'm jumping back a slide or two, but the PTH pasteboard will also save images.
Mhm.
So if you're on a website and you're doing lots of saving of images,
Mhm.
you can just copy the image, and it
Okay.
saves into the clipboard, into the
Mhm.
PTH pasteboard, so you can use it later. Makes things really easy.
There's a
But
particular graphic or something.
yeah,
I can see that.
that is one annoying thing if you're not really careful. It likes to pop out that window. Okay, so let's move on to our next item. Awesome screenshot. You use this one at all?
No.
Okay. Awesome Screenshot is a plugin for a web browser. And I happen to be using Chrome, so I will launch Chrome and show you what that is. Now, are you familiar with what plugins are?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So they're basically just extensions make your browser do something different. So I will go to Chrome. And I just happen to have it installed on Chrome. So if I were to go to Chrome, oops. If you're going to try to find this browser, if you go to chrome.com, or excuse me, chrome.com takes you to Google, and under browser, or excuse me, under web store, there's an option for extensions. And you can find extensions, and you can find extensions for a large number of things. So, education extensions, if I did a search for, in this case, awesome, oops, I can spell it right, awesome screenshot. It pops open awesome screenshot, and it tells me that I have it installed already, and it gives me the option to rate it. But it also gives me some other options too, that if I wanted to try a different one, I could. But the way that Awesome Screenshot works is if I'm on a page that I'm wanting to show somebody else, either through an email, a good example of why you want to use this is if you were trying to communicate with academic computing as to what problem you're having with the website. You know, hey, when I do this, this doesn't work right. Or when I'm in my email, Gmail, I don't understand this, this doesn't work right. What Awesome Screenshot does is it installs a little camera lens, and if I choose it, it will say, okay, well, what do you want to capture? Well, I want to capture the entire page. It shows me, it captures the entire site, excuse me, a picture of the entire site, and will allow me to do things like annotate it. So I can say, okay, student, I really want you to examine this part of the site and be specific, because check out what's happening here and specifically what's happening here. I don't want you to worry about what this guy's doing, so I'm going to blur that guy's face out for whatever, or maybe you're trying to get rid of car license plates or something like that. Don't worry about any of this stuff. We're not worried about any of that. But I want you to focus on this. It allows you to also crop, so I can crop the thing, maybe. Let me try it again. Oh, so do this. All right, so I can crop it down to a more manageable size, because I really want them to focus on this. Or I could be really specific and say, okay, well, I want them to only focus on this thing right here. And I'll crop that. So now I have a very small image, and really check this out here, and look at that. Okay? When I choose done, it makes an image out of it. And it's already an image, so I could take that thing and I could drop it right on the desktop. And now I have an image that I've saved to the desktop. Or if I have a text, if I have my email open, I can drop that image right onto my email, and it will make an attachment. So, or I can drop it right into D2L. So if you're trying to do something within D2L, and you want to have a picture on a website, point students at things, it's a quick, easy way to annotate images. Is that clear, make sense?
Yes, I like that actually.
I use this a lot. This is very useful for me. I use it mostly for, okay, look here. This is what I want you to click on. You should be seeing this drop-down menu. Are you not seeing that drop-down menu? You want to click here to get that drop-down menu. To make things clearer for people, rather than writing out a lot of text information, you can just send them a picture of where that's located. Okay. Any questions about that?
No.
They also make this for a bunch of other browsers too. Firefox, Safari. So you don't have to use Chrome. You can use, I just happen to like Chrome. Okay, the next one we want to talk about is Evernote. Do you use Evernote?
No.
Ah, you will when you go home. Evernote. All right. Evernote is an application, sorry?
Nope, I just said I put an asterisk by it, just so you know.
Evernote is an application that works in the cloud. So when you are at a meeting, let's see, I'm trying to remember. No. You can remember your password. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I remembered my password, and what this is it's a note-taking utility that you can download it on just about any mobile device that you have. Your iPad would work really well. You download Evernote for your iPad. You can download it for your phone and for your desktop. The nice thing about this is it syncs everywhere. Whatever you create on your mobile device, you set your mobile device down and forget about it, or your battery dies. When you go to your desktop and you log into Evernote, it's there. It's when you log into Evernote on their website, your note is there. So it's very beneficial in that it works in the cloud, and your notes are just everywhere. They've added some fairly new features lately. Some of those are like audio notes, so that if you do want to do some audio stuff, talk to yourself about, man, I really hated this conference and this is why, you can do an audio note and save those as well. There are eyesight notes. In this case, if you have a Mac, you can give your speech or your video note, and that would save that as well. Creating a new note is fairly simple. Select a new note and give it a title. You can also add tags to this, so that if you were going to say, you were going to a conference and it was a many-day conference, you could add a tag to this note and then be able to organize your notes by tags later. Show me all of my symposium notes. And those would all pop up rather than seeing every single note and having to find them. The nice thing about tags too is that they do sell, if you can't break away from writing on a piece of paper, they sell a product called, it's not too terribly expensive either. I've been meaning to try it. Pen Ultimate. I'm trying to think of it's not Pen Ultimate. There's a product called, oh yeah, this is kind of a fun one too, Evernote 8. This is one that you buy, and you can use your iPad with this. And you know that case that you can buy for iPad 2 that's magnetic, and it flops over? And it's a note-taking app. So you can flip open the first layer of that, and it will give you a question. What's 3 plus 2? And then if you open it up all the way, it'll say 5 at the top. So it's kind of like being able to quiz yourself pretty easily. But they also sell, the thing I was thinking about, they also sell this actual physical notebook with little stickers, so that as you write maybe your itinerary for where you're going, or you're writing your notes about the consortium that you were in, or whatever you were going, you can take some of those stickers that they use, and those are essentially your tags. So that as you use those stickers throughout the book, you get home where you haven't had access to a computer. You hold your book up to the screen, which takes a picture of your notes, and then we'll transcribe them for you so that it makes them into, or it will OCR them, so it turns into the text, and will automatically tag them based on whatever sticker that you used. So kind of neat. I haven't really tried that yet, but I've been meaning to. It's kind of a neat looking thing. But I kind of thought this was kind of fun. You know, you open it up, and when you close the whole thing, then you get your next question. So it's an easy way to do questions. But Evernote, every meeting I go to, I have Evernote open, and I use that rather than using Word or something else, because everything it just syncs everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Which is a good idea.
Any questions about that?
Mm-hmm. I like that one actually.
It's very handy. All right. So
do they have voice to text on there?
They capture the voice, but as far as I know, it will not transcribe it. And all the transcription stuff that you can do, the software has seen none of it's very good. It'll do a pretty good guess. Google has one called I think it's Google. I don't remember the name of it. If you email me, I'll try to send it to you. But they have one that will try to do transcriptions for you, and it's okay. But you're better off using something like Dragon Dictation or something like that.
Amazing.
It's probably the best product for it. Ted, familiar with Ted?
Yep.
Oh, you are? Okay, so we don't have to talk about it too much, but for the video anyway. TED Talks. TED Talks.
There are a lot of people on TED.
There are a lot of people on TED. If you're not using TED for your class, you really should be. If I go to TED.com, they have videos of some of the best presenters on the planet present here on TED. And you can find and view topics that are, you can find any topic you want on TED. And using videos, you can watch and view their videos. You can spend weeks just watching video. But on some of these, you can embed the video. So I'll say, I'm going to embed a small-ish video, and it gives me some code that I can use to embed this video onto my website or into D2L. So if you wanted to tell your students, hey, view this video, this is what I want you to look for, and then answer the questions in the discussion, or discuss it in discussions. This is the code that you would use in order to do that. So in this case, I want to embed it right on the site. So I can grab that code, and I go to D2L. And if you can remember your password, you'll go to your class. So if I go to my where is it? Here we go. Sorry, it's hard to see on the screen right now. Okay. So now I want to add a new news item, and this is my sandbox class, so I've done this before. So I'm going to edit my news item. I'll delete that just for a demonstration. Oops. You'll notice that there is this Add Stuff button, Insert Stuff button. It looks like a little playhead. So if I choose this, one of the options is to enter embed code. By choosing enter embed code, I can paste, choose next, and I'm going to allow. And now that video that I am interested in my students seeing will be embedded right on this news item. I have to make sure that I choose insert and then save or update in this case. and now TED Talks appears. That is one thing you want to tell your students, though, is that if you are doing this, make sure that they know that they may get that window that says, hey, this is blocked content. Because they're going to tell you, I can't see this video, I can't see the video that you posted. Just tell them, make sure that you allow that plugin to happen through that little button. And I believe there's also one in the URL that appears at the top on some older versions of this that will say there's some blocked content. Looks like a little shield icon. It's here it is. Very difficult to see.
Yep.
But if your students are having a problem viewing online video, have them look to see if that's highlighted. If that's highlighted, they can choose it and adjust their security settings. But TED is excellent. You could probably occupy your entire class, never say a word, and just use TED videos. Okay, I think that is about it. I did want to talk a little bit at the end of the presentation about using, finishing up with Fuse. Now I've been capturing this presentation using Fuse. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say, stop the video, and it's going to ask me to name my video. And depending on what you want to do with your video, if you were having your students do videos, you're going to borrow one of our devices and have all of your students speak. You'd want to let us know what you're trying to do, because we can create a workflow that will then email that student and email the professor when that video was available, finished processing for you to be able to view. So you kind of want to have those few things in mind. What do I want to do with my video? Do I want it to go right to YouTube? Do I want it to go to our pilot program called Kaltura? Do I want emails to get sent out? What do I want to do with this video when I hit submit? And the easiest thing that we've found so far for students is just to put in the student's name and, their UW Oshkosh name, and hit submit, and it just goes. And if you want to have something different for every class, we can have multiple workflows for each class. It's just we need to know what those workflows need to do. So when that happens, all you would need to do, or when you decide that you do want to use this, you want to go to Learning Technologies website. And on our website, one of our options is lecture capture. Choose lecture capture. And under that, there's Camtasia Relay and Fuse. And you can request a course setup. Okay? Now and there's some instructions and stuff here too that you can download. But if you have questions, if you have questions, you can contact either Sean or I, but we will eventually tell you to go and fill out that form. That way we get your course ID number and all of that fun stuff. Okay. And so now I'm going to sign off with the presentation for the web, or for the podcast, and then we'll continue to talk a little bit.
Okay.